Today on the big one, we're going to be talking about the Daytona duels that took place last night and a mix of other things surrounding the upcoming Daytona 500. To start off, we'll talk about duel number one. Duel one consisted of 23XI's Bubba Wallace scoring his first duel win, and this is a big moment for 23XI surrounding the Daytona 500 because this shows that although to begin with they did not qualify well time-wise, they do have fast cars when it comes to being in the draft. Rounding out the top five is William Byron coming in second, Ty Dillon coming in third, Ross Chastain coming in fourth, and Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace's 23XI teammate, coming in fifth. Another big caution that took place was a caution that involved Chandler Smith and Helio Castroneves, both open cars. Both of these cars would not be able to finish the race. The only good thing for Helio Castroneves is he has the provisional spot, so he will still be able to race in the Daytona 500. But not so luckily for Chandler Smith, his Daytona 500 hopes are finished. In better news, Justin Allgaier of Junior Motorsports has earned his spot in the Daytona 500, which solidifies Junior Motorsports as a team that deserved to be in the Daytona 500. On to Duel 2. In Duel 2, we saw a confusing finish that led to Eric Jones thinking he won the race, but it ended up being Austin Cindric who would win Duel number 2 due to the caution lights coming on 20 feet before the finish line. This caused for a controversial finish because Eric Jones was in fact in the lead when it came to crossing the finish line first, but at the time of the caution lights, Austin Cindric was in front of him. During this confusing finish, we saw a wreck behind the leaders that involved Kyle Larson, SVG, and some other cars like Alex Bowman, who hit the inside wall. This caution has led to Kyle Larson going to a backup car as well as Alex Bowman. Corey LaJoie ended up being the open car that would make its way to the Daytona 500 through duel number 2. This is a good run for Rick Ware Racing as they will be starting in the 12th position in the Daytona 500. And that leads to the next segment, where everyone will be starting in the Daytona 500. The 2025 Daytona 500 lineup consists of Joe Gibbs Racing having a pretty promising group of 4 cars in the field with Chase Briscoe starting first, and then we have Denny Hamlin in 8th place, Christopher Bell in 20th place, and then to round out the Joe Gibbs Racing cars, Ty Gibbs in 23rd position. All 4 Joe Gibbs Racing cars are above the top 25, marking what seems to be a good day in their future for the Daytona 500. Hendrick Motorsports is a mixed bag coming into the Daytona 500, as they have William Byron in the top 5, but then at their lowest placement, they have Alex Bowman in 38th. In between those 2 cars is Kyle Larson in 22nd and Chase Elliott in 17th. It is hard to know what to expect from Hendrick Motorsports in this upcoming Daytona 500, so I'll just leave that group at that. Trackhouse Racing is another group that it's hard to know what to expect from them, as Ross Chastain is in the top 10 in 9th position, Shane Van Gisbergen is in 26th, and Daniel Suarez is in 36th. So this group is quite spaced out to start the Daytona 500. It'll be interesting to see what they can do. Team Penske is another team to look out for in this 500, as Austin Cindric is starting outside pole, Ryan Blaney is starting 16th, and Joey Logano will be rounding out the top 10 in 10th place. This team looked strong during the duels, and it'll be exciting to see what they can do. 23XI is another team that looks strong during these duels, as Bubba Wallace is starting 3rd after his duel win, and Tyler Reddick will be starting 11th. RCR is looking for a rebound year with Austin Dillon in 15th place and Kyle Busch in the 21st position to start the 500. One thing I have already said, but is worth noting again, Rick Ware Racing with a pretty good starting position with Corey LaJoie in 12th. I expect a strong performance out of the 01 car as he has a lot of experience and is known for being a good super speedway racer. 3 of the 1 car teams will be starting 29th, 30th, and 31st, with Josh Berry for Wood Brothers Racing starting 29th, Cole Custer for Haas Factory Team starting 30th, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starting 31st for Hyak Motorsports. In the lower half of the field, we have the 2 open cars that made it on time during qualifying in Martin Truex Jr. for Tricon Garage and Jimmy Johnson for Legacy Motor Club. We also have the provisional starter Helio Castroneves for Trackhouse Racing. He is lucky he had this provisional spot as he wrecked in the duel and he did not make it otherwise. The 4 drivers who did not qualify for this Daytona 500 were J.J. Yaley, Anthony Alfredo, B.J. McLeod, and Chandler Smith. These drivers will have to go home instead of competing in the Daytona 500 this upcoming Sunday. Some things I'm expecting in the upcoming Daytona 500 are things such as fuel saving towards the end of the races, manufacturers teaming up during pit stops, and I believe there will be a lot of aggressive blocking during this race, as we've seen this already in duel number 2 when Chris Buescher blocked the field after pit stops. I don't believe that there will be aggressive blocking just after pit stops. I believe the whole race will include it. And 3 other things I took interest in that could take place during the race is the use of only half or so of the throttle by some of these drivers to try and save fuel. I believe this will definitely be used. The 2 other things that come to mind was there were some cars that were too fast exiting on pit lane during duel number 2. Hamlin was one of them. I believe something similar will happen during the Daytona 500 as every second counts. The last thing I took interest to was the power steering pump being replaced in Christopher Bell's car before duel number 2 that sent him to the back. This has happened to multiple cars this weekend, and look for this to be a problem during the Daytona 500. Another thing I'm expecting is a last lap caution or an overtime in this race, as the last 7 of these Daytona 500s have included one of these. That's all I have for you today on the big one. Thank you for watching.